Alright everyone, it's time to talk about the Occult, video 193, La Llorona, or La Llorona, I've heard it pronounced both ways, Bloody Mary, Vanishing Hitchhikers, some of the spooky sort of pre-modern, well, pre-postmodern at this point, supposedly, sort of creepy stuff. Some of it's like kids' games, like you remember the Charlie Charlie challenge a few years ago where people were taking the pencil and I guess like putting two pencils together and they'd say like, want to play a game or whatever they were saying. And sometimes it would spin. And it's because of the frictionless surfaces of the pencils and the slight wind caused by their breath. But some people really freaked out and it was really funny at the time. I made sort of a joke about it because it's not actual occultism. Also, I wanted to quickly reference the Wendigo. I should have referenced this along with like skinwalkers, ironically enough. The Wendigo is a fun legend. It's sort of the same cautionary tale. That's what I would say about it in brief. It's basically don't go wandering off into the nighttime in the middle of winter. That's not a good idea. This, snow creature or whatever it is will get you. That's basically what it is. It was a way of explaining why occasionally your kids disappeared in the night back in the ancient times. That's basically what it amounts to. As far as Bloody Mary you've probably heard of. It's mostly a child's game. The idea is that Bloody Mary is like this ghost, and there are multiple legends involved, multiple veins of folklore. The idea is that you are in front of a mirror and you say this name a certain number of times, sometimes while spinning around, probably sometimes when drunk, if you're in college or, possibly younger. And then supposedly, if you just stare into the mirror, your face will be replaced by the face of Bloody Mary. Now, if you stare at your own face in the mirror long enough, what happens? An optical illusion begins in which your face does begin to morph. It can look quite grotesque. One time I was doing this, I was having a staring contest with my teachers. I think this was when I was in like 4th grade or something. A friend, I wasn't just like staring at them creepily, but a friendly staring contest. Who can stare long without blinking? I won, by the way. I was very good at it. And it was weird because his face started to look like weird and I was just staring so fixedly. Pretty soon his face is more or less blank. And this is why it's an optical illusion. It's just the way our eyes work. So if you start to do that, and it's midnight, by candlelight, and you're already spooked out, you've been watching too many horror movies, it's Halloween, you're all candied up, you're high on sugar, you've just watched Evil Dead, and then you don't know this optical illusion exists, it might freak you out a little bit. Yeah, that's basically why it's replicated. It's sort of like any other kid's story, like Morning Glory Heaven. Oh, eat these seeds, you can go to heaven. And we won't elaborate on that too much further. I'm not encouraging any psychedelic usage, by the way. Then you have La Llorona, or La Llorona. There are other pronunciations. La Llorona, I believe, is Colombian. This is a Latin American diaspora sort of legend. And it involves, in the normal tale, this woman, she has this, handsome, rich paramour. They have kids. He sort of goes off and has another woman that he's with. In her despondency, in her anger, she ends up drowning their kids. She realizes what she did, kills herself, and now she's going to wander the whole earth wailing and trying to find her kids. Now, the most secular explanation, of course, is that the wailing that the story is based on basically the breeze at night. It's dark out, the wind is whistling through the trees or the cacti or whatever, or the rocks in some cases. That can happen. Especially, there are certain mountains that emit odd frequencies that literally can cause sickness. This is not a myth. It's actually true. It's been verified. I should probably do a separate occult video on the topic. Sonic disturbance, call it, or something. That's the explanation, but the legend is separate from that. And the idea is that this specter sort of haunts the land, especially roads or riversides at night, dressed all in white sometimes, looking for her kids. And so it's sort of cautionary. I think that the overarching story is really, hey, young women, if your husband, you caught him dicking the maid or something, don't kill your kids over. That's my favorite explanation, I suppose. And then you have Vanishing Hitchhikers. Now, there are so many different stories of this. If you go to Shadowlands, the haunted locations, you'll find there's got to be hundreds of different individual stories of Vanishing Hitchhikers just within the U.S. Sometimes they overlap. Sometimes you'll notice that two locations in proximity have similar tales and one is probably adapted from the other. The Lake Monster Traditions by Muergrim Gagnon, actually last night while reading it, one of the sections noted I believe it was Lake Aylmer up in Canada, although actually no, it was the tale of Bohenagamuk. I believe I'm pronouncing that correctly. Sort of the arrival of Champ as Lake Champlain's icon from Vermont, New York, and also Canada. The lake spans 3 different areas. Had metastasized from that central location and spread to other surrounding lakes. That is, lakes in southern Quebec, parts of northern New York, and even other bodies of water in Vermont began displaying lake monsters inexplicably after Champ is popularized. For tourist reasons, largely. Locals say, oh, I know how we can get more tourists here. Oh shit, there's a 30-foot-long monster in the lake. And pretty soon the paranormal investigators show up, and they will believe it because they will see a log. It's inevitable. I'm semi-joking. But Vanishing Hitchhikers, they're not so much named. Bloody Mary is the child's game, definitely a very proper name sort of thing, just like a Bigfoot or Loch Ness. And then La Llorona, the same basic principle, although the story has, no single origin point that's fully agreed upon. It's maybe Colombian, Mexican, who knows. With Vanishing Hitchhikers, of course, we're generally talking about the automotive era. Again, another cautionary tale. It's basically, hey, this young pretty lady might be a ghost. Don't pick her up at night. I think it was to shelter young males, especially from potentially scenarios which could be tempting. Basically, don't do it. Or maybe she was just, ravished by her boyfriend, and that's why she's crying and walking along the road. Don't get yourself involved. It'll shatter the illusion of the polite 50s and 60s era, slicked back, greased-haired Christian society. You might get odd beliefs from it, and so you shouldn't involve yourself with that harlot over there. Basically, in 50s and 60s mentality, sadly, probably the case. We see that with priest abuse at the moment. But no, these are interesting stories. They're urban legends. That is, I don't actually believe if you turn around and stare into the mirror that you're going to see a ghost. It shatters the... In some instances, you're supposed to turn on the lights at that point, or she'll shatter the window, come into the room, and possess you or kill you, or, I don't know, maybe ghost grope you or something. Maybe some people are into that. They're like, oh, I'm so lonely. Here, let me take a couple of shots and spin around in front of this mirror for a while. And then with, the weeping lady, La Llorona, it's more of a cautionary tale, very interesting. I don't actually believe in it, although the central story may be true. Indeed, probably is. At multiple points throughout time, that sort of thing has happened. Jilted wife kills her kids in a rage. It does happen. It appears to be cautionary against that. And Vanishing Hitchhikers is quite common. Statistically speaking, since thousands of people will watch this, statistically speaking, hundreds of you have had paranormal adventures of your own. I find them all fascinating. I just assume, generally speaking, people aren't making it up. They may have seen something and misidentified it, or they may have been hallucinating or something at the time. But generally, I don't choose to believe that most people lie about these things. I have my own anecdotal stories. Seeing a ghost, I did see it. I'm not lying when I say that. I don't expect you to believe it. Could I have misidentified some weird natural phenomenon? Yeah, there's a possibility. I don't think so, but yeah, I definitely saw what I saw. I've seen a UFO. Not necessarily a flying saucer. It could have been like a satellite or something. It is possible. It's just can't identify it. It's flying. It's an object. I can't identify it. It's literally a UFO. That I can say with 100% certainty. That's about all. Peace out.